Coach, big times around here with some hires. What can you say about the pitching coach hire and the promotion?
Yeah, just super exciting time. Since we finished playing at Stanford, it's been pretty unsettled around here, which none of us like. But that's part of transition when somebody makes a decision to go somewhere else, and then certainly your this time of year your rosters in a lot of transition, trying to figure out what that is relative to the Major League Draft, transfer portal, what your own current players want to do. So yeah, we feel good about the last 48 hours of getting Coach Max on board, getting him to work. He's been great. Came down on his interview, didn't check a bag, just had a carry on, and has been hanging out here ever since. So, or not just hanging out, he's been working. So, and then Nolan, can't even begin to describe. He's literally been the glue to this program in the last 4 weeks. Whether it be keeping our own guys sane and moving in the right direction, or dealing with the transfer portal, the Major League Draft, everything that goes along with that. And so it's been exciting. Michael Early's promotion as well, making him a full-time. He's been working full-time, just hasn't been getting paid for it like he should. So that's been exciting for him and comforting for his family. So we're slowly getting this thing back on steady water.
How did Max come on your radar, and kind of what was the qualities that attracted you to him?
Well, I just wanted to do a comprehensive search, which I did, and having Nolan handle everything else, he was certainly a part of that. Mike was a part of that when I wanted their opinion or they had ideas. But really, that's my job as the head coach. So just kind of went all across the country. I talked to everybody from Major League GMs to pitching coaches in the big leagues. Obviously, the interest in the job was at a very, very high level. College head coaches, college assistant coaches, some of the very best and brightest people in all of baseball. And it's real easy to hire people that don't have a job, right, or don't have as good of a job. It's really hard to hire somebody that has a great job. You have to go through some processes, and they have to go through a process. And so it just became super clear in a perfect world what I was looking for was kind of the Mike Early version of on the pitching side, someone young with some energy, who had a great knowledge of kind of the new age pitching style, the science behind it, but also we all know that those things are great in a bullpen, they're great in a lab, but you still got to go win a game. You still got to manage a running game, you still got to call pitches, you still got to read hitters, you still got to play real baseball. And so as I went throughout all of professional baseball, mainly looking for that, one name kept coming to the top. And he's had opportunities prior to this in college baseball. I know you guys are going to get to talk to him, but one thing that really stood out is he wanted to be a college coach. It wasn't just something, I want to dabble in that maybe, or maybe I want to investigate that. The one thing he said to me is like, my goal my entire career is to be a college pitching coach. And so that was super exciting, and then everything's been great to this point. So looking forward to building that relationship.
Seems like it's been like a recent trend of hiring major league guys or professional coaches down to the college level. How would you explain that coming to fruition, and now that you're a part of that?
Yeah, well, there's actually been a lot of transition back and forth. You have college guys that decide that they want to get in professional baseball. I think professional baseball about 3 or 4 years ago started to really acknowledge that a lot of the great development was being done in college, right? There was, especially at this level, there's more resources, nutrition, strength and conditioning, like professional, an elite Division I program has as much or more resources, maybe not necessarily than the major league team, but in minor league baseball. And then I think what you saw with contraction and a smaller draft, there's fewer minor league teams, so professional baseball is investing more in their minor league teams and in their development, so they're getting some really good people. I think where you see the professional people coming into college baseball, a lot of that is lifestyle, and a lot of that is the finances of it. Coaches, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think coaching is less valued in professional baseball than it is in college. You have the analytics, you have the front office people that are making a lot of the decisions. So managers make less, minor league coaches make less, and when you come to college baseball, at least in the SEC, you have a chance to A, improve your lifestyle, and B, make more money. how many professions would you like to be able to say that? And so, and then be a part of what is the pageantry of college athletics and college baseball. So I think each person on each side of it are searching for their own thing. Some people like to leave college baseball to go to professional baseball because they don't want to have to deal with recruiting. They don't want to have to deal with all the other things. Being a college baseball coach, it's a baseball job, but sometimes baseball is what you do the least of. So you have to be excited to do the other things, the recruiting and all of that kind of stuff. And that's another thing I was excited about with Max is, has he been a part of a college recruiting process? And he hasn't, but what he has been a part of is recruiting free agents to big league teams, And when I was talking to one of my dearest friends, the assistant general manager of the Mariners, Andy McKay, he talked about that, how Max was a big part of, if we have this big name free agent who he can go anywhere, or maybe he has 5 teams to choose from, it's not just about the money. It's about, hey, come to Seattle because we can develop you better than these other 3 major league teams. So that's recruiting in itself.
With Wake Forest run to the College World Series and a lot of emphasis and coverage on their pitching lab, now that you've made an exciting pitching coach hire, how much interest is there in establishing something like that here?
Oh, there's a lot of interest. Yeah, there's a lot of interest, but you got to have we have to build the facility, which we're definitely going to be building pitching lab, whatever you want to call it. I think a pitching lab that Wake Forest built several years ago, and a Wake Forest and a pitching lab that we're going to build. I mean, those things change so often, sometimes minute to minute. So hopefully we can build the next greatest one. But you got to have the people to do it. They have a really unique relationship with the hospital there and the biomechanic people, and they have a huge team of people. Can we build that here? Possibly. I think Max has a biomechanics background that can help aid that. But that's the reason we hired him, is to go handle that stuff.
You lose 3 pitchers in the draft. Just how big of you're excited for them, but how
Yeah.
big of a hole is that for you guys?
No, I think I've never been too disappointed to lose the juniors off our team. As long as they go in a really good spot in the draft, you celebrate that. You're excited for them. In the recruiting process, you kind of plan for it. You have to project, okay, if Brandon Garcia does this, if Nathan Detmer does this, and Will Johnston does this, then that means we've probably had a good season. Those guys get drafted, and that's fine. We move on. And one thing that I'm really trying hard to do is to create a pathway for our young players to play. We have to get this program transitioned away from the transfer portal so much and more into our own players. Florida, to me, is the model program, at least right now, for that. Their team in the College World Series championship was predominantly homegrown players, and that's what we want to transition to. And so as those older guys leave, you want to leave room for the younger guys to have a chance to earn a job and compete, which is hard to do in this league. So there's going to be growing pains with that. But we have 4 or 5 high school right-handed pitchers, 2 or 3 high school incoming left-handed pitchers that we really like, and so we need to create innings for those guys to get to play.
Talking about some of those high school guys, obviously the draft will take it, but it's also giving you guys a few. So talk a little bit about Gavin and Caden and kind of what we can expect from those guys.
Yeah, and Gavin and Caden, Jack Bell, there's a lot of young players. Those 2 guys seem to get the highest notoriety, but a lot of guys are draftable. Isaac Morton, Weston Moss, Jason Bowden, Brett Antolik, all those guys could have been first 5-round draft picks if they were signable. It's so having all those kids come to school is great. But Gavin and Caden are super talented. It's hard to predict a Jace Lavalette type year. A guy that almost had he hit over 20 homers, almost stole 20 bases. So that's hard to, you don't want to say, well, we really expect that out of Gavin and Caden or Jack. But they certainly have that kind of ability. And those are the kind of players that we need to need to stack recruiting class on top of recruiting class so you have those athletic, versatile, strong, really good baseball players to build your team around.
With the draft now in the rear view, what's next for you guys as far as constructing the roster? How does that look, and what are your expectations for what we'll see on the field for fall ball?
Yeah, so we still have a couple guys. We have a grad transfer that was drafted, so we need to find out what he was going to do, and we'll hopefully find that out today. And then it's just a matter. We have a couple. We may visit a few extra guys here in the next week, depending on who they are. depending on what our needs are. But I think we're getting closer and closer to knowing exactly what our roster is, and then go into the fall and give everybody a chance to make the team.
My last question, talk about some of those younger guys, obviously with having all these players drafted, what do you think this kind of does for recruiting wise, and what do you kind of think it does for the program?
It does a lot. I mean, when you look at it, it's great. When I called Garcia last night to congratulate him, I said, can you go ahead and tell your mom that I said I told you so? Because this time last year, he was thinking about signing as a non-drafted free agent. He had a 6 ERA at Quinnipiac, and we talked him into, or he decided to come, and look at the season he had. He ended up being really making himself better for professional baseball. Hunter Haas, what an awesome story. A guy that's, had a decent freshman year, then was hurt as a sophomore, comes here. We're able to not just get him healthy, but keep him healthy. Our athletic training staff and Coach Mack, our strength coach, are to be credited for that. And then he puts together a great season and is a 4th-round pick. And so all of those things are just testimonies to what can happen for players in this program, whether they be high school players or transfers. So proof's in the pudding, man. Don't even listen to the coach. Just go look and see what we've done, and the same thing can happen for every single player in the program.
Coach?
All right.